the listing conversion, and what it is essentially. Paul, am I able to share my screen?
Oh yeah.
No.
Oh. Now try.
There it is. You know, there's a saying when I first got into real estate back in, I don't know, the dark ages. I had a pastor, actually. He walked up to me one day, and his name's John Emazzini, and he said, I hear you sell real estate. And I said, I sure do. And he said, realtors don't retire, do they? And I said, I don't know. I didn't know. He goes, no, they don't retire. They become listless. He said, when you don't have listings as a realtor, no one knows you're out there, because being a buyer's agent is not as in your face. Like, there's no advertising. Hey, I'm representing Joe Smo buyer here today, and we're going to go look at houses. Well, now more than ever with Facebook and stuff, but not before Facebook. So listings are very, very important to maintain your real estate career. And there's a lot of reasons why, because you get leads off those listings, because you can market those listings and get leads, because it gives you clout. There's a lot of statistics that you can use when you're a listing agent to help get more business. The longer you're in the business, the more you will see that your clientele will turn from mostly buyers to half and half buyers, half sellers, and then mostly listings. I was just talking to Gina a few seconds ago, and please don't take this as snooty or anything. I was like, oh, I had to show houses this weekend. I said, Gina, do you want to come back? Because she was my buyer's agent. She don't want to be a buyer's agent anymore. She said, no, I'm doing my own thing or whatever. And I was just boohooing because I had to drive all over the country. Once you are a listing, or once you're an agent that's been in the business for a decent amount of time, maybe 5, 10, 12 years, you will notice that you will tend to want the listings versus buyers, simply because it's just a less time intensive. You can do it from home, you can do it from your car, yada yada. So listings are super important, and what this course is going over is it's going over how to get those and what you do when you get them. How do I make this all on one page? I can't. Do I need to zoom in? Can you guys see it? You'll have to say something because I can't see your faces anymore. I've done something to my...
I can see it pretty okay. Yeah, I can read everything.
Okay. Kimberly Dillon, can you see it, honey?
Let me unmute her.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. So anyway, this is for illustration only. That's a bunch of malarkey. It's in every one of them. But the listing conversion class course overview is to teach the conversational approach to helping sellers make informed, intelligent listing decisions. So after this class, you'll feel confident enough to enter into relationships with serious sellers. A result will be between 16 and 100 listings. I have to answer this text 1 second. It's about my kid. I'm sorry.
I'm going to send Kimberly this PDF as well.
Our plan is to go to expireds for sell by owners within your network and farming in order to get new referral and repeat business. We're looking for sellers. We're going to build them up with our client care systems. We're going to do yard signs, home ads, the internet, maybe some just listed cards. And it will, again, then go to new referral, repeat business, and then you do this circle over and over and over again. Once you become what they call proficient at this, it will become like clockwork. A lot of you that I've talked to in goal setting, I've talked to you about, setting up your system, setting up time management, time blocking, really thinking through how you're going to use your day. I heard someone say the other day, we have all the same. The one thing that we have the same is the same hours during a day. But then I heard another guy say, we all might have the same hours during the day, but one of us may use those hours to benefit ourselves. One of us may use those hours to, rest and recoup. And one of us may use those hours in a negative way to negatively affect our lives. So although you have the same amount of time, you have to consider how you're spending that time, because it's something you can never get back. Strategy is relation-based listing. And then the classes also that we have expired for sell by owner, marketing boot camp, referral, basic listing conversion, pricing boot camp, and objections boot camp. Some of the funnest ones that I've taught are these objections boot camp. And the reason that I like them so well is because you learn actual scripts of when people say the most common phrases to you of the objection of why they should use you or not use you. Those phrases or scripts can be used and it sounds very genuine. I love to have them in person, not on Zoom, because I found that it's a lot of practice role play, and it's harder to do it. It's harder to do it in a Zoom setting. So these are sets per week. What we're looking for is the, hold on, I'm trying to get it to move. There we go. Is being consistent. Our consistent is phase one, being consistent in everything that you do. We're going to give you 7 weeks vacation, and we're only looking for you to get 1 appointment a week. If you set 45 new listings in a year or 45 new appointments, 70% don't cancel. So that means you actually have 32 meetings in 1 year. You get 50% of those listings equaling 16, and you actually sell 50% of those 16 listings you have obtained. You get 8 new transactions. Our average sales price in Richmond is right at $200,000. So 200,000 times 3% commission, if you only get one side of it, is $6,000. So you would take 6, multiply that by 8, and you're looking at total income in addition of $48,000 if you follow this and you become simply consistent. As you get efficient, the number goes up. As you get proficient, the number goes up. It's just like riding a bike or driving a car. The more you do it, the more proficient and the better at it, and the less nervous, the less jerky you are when you're doing the process. So practice is key. Consistency is key in everything. The older I get, the more I learn that consistency is more life lesson than anything else in the world. The know, the do, and the have of listing conversion. We convert the sellers with our relationship-based listing method. And we have to have confirming dialogue, message 1 dialogue, message 2 dialogue, message 3 dialogue, and closing dialogue. So we don't only say to you, hey guys, here's how you go get the listings. This is how you talk to these people. It's here's the dialogue that you can use and learn and study, and what he calls SPAR, which is study, practice. Oh my gosh. Now my child's blowing me up. I'm so sorry. Study, practice. A stands for, I know R stands for repeat, and I can't think of what A stands for right now. I'm so sorry. Study, practice. I don't know. I'll remember it in just a second. So if I scream out a word that starts with A, you'll know it's for SPAR. Check your attitude. The core, we have to have these core beliefs. There's a book called Go for No. It's my favorite book in the whole world. And I didn't understand what I was reading until I got to the end of it. Because the whole time I'm reading this book and it's like, yeah, don't worry about it. If someone tells you no, yeah, don't worry about it. If you keep getting turned down, no big deal. But by the time at the end of the book, it was like every no that you hear, you have to tell yourself, okay, I am 1 no closer to my yes. And you have to take the no's as no to your service, not no to you. And no, it's no for now, but not no forever. So those are some key things that I learned in reading that book. I mean, we have it in our little library in Lexington. It might be 30 or 40 pages long. It's really, really good. It's one of those quick weekend or evening reads, but you have to get into these core beliefs before you can really, truly grow as an agent. You have to check your attitude. The 6 inches between your ears is sometimes the hardest part of your body to control. It's the hardest part to get over. There is no growth without discomfort. I live in a world of listing abundance. There's plenty of listings out there for everyone. If there wasn't, realtors wouldn't be coming on or joining LBAR as fast and furious as possible. Success stems from duplicable processes and systems. If you set up duplicable processes and systems, then success will stem from that because you have something to fall on. Everything is exactly the same. Walmart didn't get big because they were scattered and didn't know what they were doing. Dick's didn't get big because they were scattered. They had the systems, they put the systems in place, and they grew. It's a win-win or no deal. That's big. That's my mantra in life. Leverage is the key to abundance. You leverage your time on certain things. You reap the reward of what you put that into. Cost is only an issue in the absence of value. If you can't provide your value, then of course they're going to negotiate your commission. But if you come in and you provide your value, they're not even going to be concerned about what your asking price is for your commission. You will not convert 100% of the leads you do not generate. You will not convert that for sale by owner you forget to follow up on. You will not convert that buyer that calls you and you don't return their call. That's just throwing it away and sending it off to another agent who's ready, willing, and able to work for them. People will trust and follow what you can logically and tangibly explain. I call these show me's. If you bring show me's and you bring charts and graphs and the things that you get off of LBAR is very, very good, then if you can logically and tangibly explain it, people will believe you. It's unacceptable to leave sellers money on the table. It's our fiduciary duty to get them the most that we possibly can. Homes sell for 2 reasons, price and exposure. The pricing game is all about justification. If you can justify the price, you can probably get it on the open market. Pricing is neighborhood specific. It is specific to the neighborhood that the property is in, and 1 or 2 streets over may change the entire dynamic of the comps. I don't think I breathe very much when I talk because I always start yawning. What is put into motion stays in motion. Think of a train barreling down the tracks, and you throw coal in it, 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 and it just keeps on going and keeps on going and keeps on going. But if you stop doing the act of throwing the coal in there, then the train is going to slow down and come to a stop. It's much easier to keep the train going while it's moving than it is to start the train from a complete dead stop. So think about that as your real estate careers. Right now, you're starting it up, you're throwing the coal in, and eventually you're going to heat up whatever heats up to get that steam train going. Once that train is moving and once that train is barreling forward, it's going to be hard to stop it, just at the same token as it's hard to get going. So put yourself in motion so you'll stay in motion. And then pricing homes is not an exact science. I have always been asked as a principal broker and a mentor about pricing houses, like, give me the equation, give me the math, give me, there has to be some specific something that tells you what this half bath is worth, or some specific appraisal price list that tells you what a brand new kitchen is or an outdated kitchen is, but it's not. There is no specific number or equation on any listing. It is a true guesstimate, and it is a true mathematical. It's not even an equation, but it's comparing houses that are similar to pull up to, for comps to pull up what this property is valued at. So 7 listing responsibilities. It is your job as a listing agent to do these 7 tasks. This is above and beyond keeping your client informed. Since there's a limited amount of time, you must define your vital responsibilities so you can identify just the activities necessary for maximum output in your listing efforts. We'll go over each of these one by one. So here's the 7. Lead generation, 47 vital listing activities. Paul is going to send you this so you have these. What I want you to do is sit down after our class is over and really look through them. And there are some that I would suggest that you mark off. Let's see. Most people under marketing and exposure, number 23, door knock the closest neighbors, call 50 neighbors. Those are very aggressive tactics. However, Kenneth DeGrant is a door knocker and a caller of FISBOs, and he has seen a uptick in his business this year, and he's done really, really well. So if that's not something that you see is in your quiver of what you want to offer, then take those off. However, 28 and 29. Oh my goodness, I am not a sleepy person. I don't think I breathe deep. Okay. 28 and 29 are very, very important because that is prepare a weekly update sheet and call your seller with weekly updates. Sellers' number one complaint about listing agents are you get the listing and then you disappear. They never hear from you again. They, you may call and say, hey, I've got this showing. But if you don't have any showings, then you need to be giving them a weekly update. Update on what, right? You're saying, I don't have any showings. What to update them on? Update them on what's sold in their neighborhood, what's come on the market in their neighborhood. Update them on comps that have sold around them, showing their competition. And if they're helping sell their neighbor's house because they've overpriced it, their own listing. There's a lot of things you can update sellers on. And then another very part of this that we learned in the Jared James last week is post-closing activities. Post-closing activities are the thing that realtors always leave off when they're doing business with their clients. Keeping in touch with them and follow up is the hardest part because realtors' mindsets are on to the next deal, on to the next deal, on to the next deal. But when you go to closing, the statistics are that 98% of all sellers will use their same realtor again. 3 years later, 70% of them, or whenever they go to sell, at a minimum of 3 years later, 70% of them do not remember their realtor's name. Whose fault is that? Whose fault is it that your seller does not remember your name when they go to sell their property?
The realtor's fault.
That's right. That's exactly right. Simply because it's our job as business owners, not as a fiduciary duty, but it's our job as business owners, because your real estate sales business is a business, to keep connected with those people, because getting leads from people that know you, like you, and love you and would use you again if they had the opportunity are the ones that are going to send you the business that you're looking for. Now, on that flip side, if you have a consumer that is a total jackass the entire time, be careful in keeping up with that consumer, because most people who act like that usually send you the same type of personality. So there may be some people that you don't ever want to refer you because you don't want to deal with another jackass per se. So listing department basics, mission: to ensure that sellers work with me and make the most informed listing decision possible. And our vision is to attract serious sellers by taking an intentional and proactive approach to selling their home. Our model is relationship based. We are working as a team, and our approach during our meeting is to establish a win-win, justify price, present our 7-step marketing strategy, hold our plan accountable, maximize net sales price, negotiate for repairs, and realize the goal of selling the home. Key indicator for success is the percent of listings that I sell, our sales price to our list price ratio, which is a good number to know because you can use that statistically when you're talking to sellers about listing their properties. Average days till you get an offer, average days from offer to close, and the average seller satisfaction ranking. And Rate My Agent, I think is what it's called. Elbar's using right now. Kim's got a class on it this week. Or this coming month in November, you will want to get on that class. And then seller testimonials. So those are the things that give you your key indicators to success. Let's see. Presentation versus conversation. I would stop calling or don't start calling your listing presentation a listing presentation. I would call it your listing conversation. And the reason for that is because a presentation, if I say, I'm going to meet you and give you this presentation, you see yourself immediately with me talking, you not saying anything, and it being more of me telling you how it is versus we're discussing how it's going. The concept behind the conversation is very simple. We need to meet and have a conversation to see if a win-win working relationship can be created. It's very important to have a win-win working relationship because then you see yourself as being on the same team. So valuing a conversational approach will result in building the healthy and abundant listing inventory you desire. You have to get out of the competitive mindset by thinking you must list with every seller you meet. Instead, we live in a world of listing abundance. There's plenty of listings out there. You have to go get them and you have to find them. But if you have a scarcity mentality, then you worry, I must get the listing because there's a limited supply. Now, there is truly a limited to supply. There is a limited supply currently, and that's simply because there's so many buyers looking for listings. I will say, if you were in the presentation with Justin Landon last week, he said this is the first time in 2020 that listings have been up, and I am so very sorry. Listings have been up since the pandemic started. So listings are starting to come on the market. People are getting less antsy about the economy or whatever. And I suspect after November 3rd or 4th or 5th, whenever the election is, that we'll see more listings start coming on the market. People definitely have not stopped spending money from the rebound of the economy. Getting the listing is only half the equation. The listing must also sell for the relationship to be deemed a success. So it's not your job to get the listing and put the sign in the yard. It's your job to get the property sold. That is the end game. The end game is getting to the closing table so that seller can move on to their next story. The typical behavior in a listing appointment is to present instead of have a conversation. We want to give the sellers the opportunity to have complete self-discovery in regards to price, condition, marketing. Having them do the self-discovery along with you gets their buy-in. It gets their buy-in along the way. So pre-conversation activities are ask pre-listing questions, call them up, have a conversation over the phone, get everything you need to know about the property. And then your pricing, assemble your pricing tools. We have a class called Pricing Boot Camp that goes over that explicitly, and we'll probably teach that one next week. It gives you an idea of how to price a house when you're doing a listing. You always confirm the appointment the night before. If your meeting is before noon on Tuesday, you will call before 5 today and confirm that appointment. Professionals always confirm appointments. If it's this evening, like after 5 o'clock, you make sure to confirm the appointment the morning of. Always know going in that they know that you're thinking about them. If you confirm the appointment prior to you actually coming, they think that you're thinking about them. Set boundaries for a win-win relationship. We have to uncover their needs. We have to prioritize their needs. And we have to introduce and review the CMA, which is the comparative marketing analysis, which again, we will learn in the pricing bootcamp. Message number 3 is covering mutual expectations, gain agreement on our roles, your role as a listing agent, the seller's role as a seller, and how to have a win-win relationship. And then post-conversational activities, we have handle objections, questions and concerns. That's our objections boot camp. And then present and explain listing agreement. Our listing agreements are pretty simple, but if you haven't had one explained to you, Catherine, you can actually sit down with Kelly and she'll go over that with you. And then Kimberly, I know that you know what a listing agreement looks like. So we're good on that. So pre-conversation activities, stage 1, differentiate yourself from your competition, add to your value proposition, and increase your referral business. So the 6 pre-conversation activities are, what happened to my pre-conversation activities? I don't know why it's blank. I mean, I've taught this class like 15,000 times.
Wait, I thought I saw pre-conversation down just a little bit. One more. One more.
Ask pre-list. Thank you, Paul. I'm sorry. I just didn't see it. I knew it was there somewhere. Ask pre-listing questions, assemble pricing tools, confirm appointment, prepare listing agreement, get on the listing channel, and arrive on time. So I didn't see this one until just this second. Arriving on time is so important. I had a client when I was first in real estate. I was 20 or 21 years old, and I had 3 kids and a lot going on in life, trying to be a mom and be a realtor and not drown at the same time. It's pretty difficult, actually. But the whole time I dealt with the client, I was every appointment 15 minutes late. And he made a joke out of it, and he started calling it Kristy time. So I would say, I'll be here at 11, and he'll go, okay, are you on my time or Kristy time? Because if it's Kristy time, then I'll expect you to be here at 11:15. His name was Mr. Dick. I'm just going to leave it right there. But he was actually my old pastor, but he was and it made me wonder that whole time, gosh, arriving on time is very important. It shows that you respect their time, yada, yada. Real estate is your rocket science. You know how they say, that's not rocket science. Well, real estate is your rocket science. We have to build a large, healthy listing inventory. And you must be intentional and proactive every step of the way. This requires that you study and practice and consistently improve both large and small components of your listing approach. So here's the pre-listing questions that we had talked about. These are the ones that you call when you're talking to them, and you get this information before you do the actual listing conversation meeting. The reason for this is because you need this information in order to look up comps. The only difference is when you walk in the property and the property is not in the condition that you presumed that it would be. That's the only time that your price might change based on the comps that you see versus the viewing of the property when you do the walkthrough. I will also mention, while you're on here, I don't think it says it on here anywhere. I don't see it. I would ask them one question that you can add to this is, have you done any renovations in the last year? And then are there any maintenance items that need to be done on the home? Or are there any renovations that need to be done? Those things are key indicators that that tell you what you're walking into. Because trust me, if they've done renovations on the property, they're going to tell you because they're going to be proud of them. And then if they need the work to be done, if you just ask it in a way that's not saying, you know, is your home crap? You're saying, are there any renovations that need to be done? Or are there any maintenance items you plan on taking care of prior to listing? Those give you a key indicator. Look, professionals always confirm the appointment. So confirming the appointment, this is, again, if it's at noon or before on Tuesday. So if we have an appointment tomorrow, we would confirm before 5 o'clock tonight. If it's 5 afternoon or 5 o'clock tomorrow, we will confirm tomorrow morning. The dialogue is right here. It's super, super simple. Mr. Miss Seller, this is Kristy Gooch with Remax Elite Realty. Did I catch you at a good time? Great. The reason you always ask them if it's a good time is because you're getting permission to have the conversation. That is a psychological thing that's going on. It's not necessarily, you know, rocket science, but when you're sitting down and someone calls you, think about this. When you're sitting in a car and you're jamming to your music, or you're eating dinner with your family and someone calls you and you say, hello, this is Catherine, or hello, this is Kimberly. And then they just start talking. They don't even ask you if it's okay to have this conversation right now. And you're like, well, you're half listening, half ticked off, looking at your friends, really wanting to have a conversation with them, trying to get off the phone. And it's not really going anywhere. That person that's trying to talk to you has pretty much wasted their time and yours because you're not bought into the conversation. So you ask them, did I catch you at a good time? The reason for my call is to make sure both you and John Doe will be there tomorrow at 4 o'clock. I really appreciate your time, and I look forward to visiting with both of you tomorrow night at 4 o'clock. If the wife or partner is unable to attend the meeting, ask the following question. Will so-and-so be involved in making this decision? The reason for that is because you do not want to talk to half of the decision maker. You do not want to spend your evening or your afternoon presenting to someone or having a conversation with someone that is not the decision maker or is only a part of the decision-making process. If they say yes, then you say, I really like to, sorry about that, I know that's loud. I really like to schedule a time when both of you can be present. How about tomorrow night? So you are immediately confirming the appointment, asking if everyone's going to be there. And then if they say, no, it's only going to be me and it's not going to be my spouse, immediately you try to reconfirm the appointment because you want everyone there. And then they say, no, it's just me. I'll be making the decision. Great. I'll see you tonight. Get on the listing channel. It's super, super important. Wherever you are, be there. Driving to and from the house to the listing appointment, if you've got responsibilities, if you have children, if you have, you know, sick family member, if you have a hard day, before you get in there and do this listing conversation, make sure you are mentally focused on the task at hand. Clear your head, focus on the conversation, and before you get out of the car, imagine you sticking that for sale sign in the yard, because, you know, you have to know where you're going before you get there, and having a vision of what you want to achieve makes the trek to get there, or makes the listing appointment to get there more pleasurable, because you're looking for that desired result. Always arrive on time. Always, always, always. Park on the street, not in the driveway. Introduce yourself and offer to remove your shoes. Even if you have a hole in your sock, remove your shoes, because it's respectful, and there are some nationalities that really require it. As soon as you walk in the door, ask for a tour of the house. Before we get started, why don't you pretend I'm your buyer and show me around your home, pointing out what you feel are the selling features. This is hugely important because of 1 to 2 things. One, it helps you write your marketing remarks. Anybody want a kid? I got one for sale. He's 16 years old. He's adorable, but he is a flippin' needy fella. Anyway, that's what all the dinging is. The tour of the home will give you your marketing remarks, because whatever the reasons are that the seller bought the property, those are most likely the same reasons the next people are going to buy the property. They're the main features. And build rapport and take notes as you tour the home. As you tour the home, mix in talk. This is my favorite thing to talk about. Ford, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Remember Ford, and you'll remember these things. There's always someone who wants to talk about their family, their job, what they do as a hobby, and where they're going in life, dreams. Also take notes in regards to the features and amenities and condition, as this is where you will predetermine which value range the home most identifies with. This is also the perfect opportunity to warm up with a conversational tone and exhibit your charm, because I know you guys have some charm. Afterward, both parties should feel very comfortable communicating with one another. This is not a staging tour. This is not where you walk through and you go, okay, so this chair needs to be moved here. Everything needs to be picked up off the floor so nobody trips on it. We don't need to talk about all that right now. You just need to walk through and take notes and build rapport. If you see a diploma on the wall, ask them about the college. If you see a bunch of art painting, ask them about their painting. If you see wall-to-wall NASCAR, you ask them who loves NASCAR. So you pick up on their hobbies, their interests when you go into their home, and you build rapport. When you go back to the kitchen, most people take you into their kitchen to have a conversation because it's a table with chairs. Before you sit down, ask them where you would like to be seated, because you don't want to sit in the man's chair or the wife's chair, because immediately you have set the tone that it's a disrespectful feeling. Some people are really weird about where you sit at the kitchen table. So just ask them where they would like you to sit. So the listing conversation is beginning. You're sitting at the chair, you're talking about it, and you are entering into the conversation zone. There are 3 messages you want to deliver here. Not all realtors behave alike. We must find and agree on the most appropriate price entry point, and we have roles and specific expectations for both of us. So you telling the sellers you are different can add more value is not enough. You must allow them to self-discover. The conversational approach is to be used as follows. You engage them in conversation, you deliver the message that you want to deliver to them, and then you gain their agreement with you. So you're going to be asking them, will this be okay? Don't you agree? Let's see. If they give you an opposition, you'll say, well, tell me how you got there. So you want to make sure you are both on the same page through the entire process. Scripted dialogue is a must. However, a lot of realtors mistakenly replace their personalities with the script, resulting in disaster. So when I say here's scripts that you can use, because we'll go over some here in just a second. When I say here's scripts that you can use, I want you to take those scripts and I want you to morph them into something that sounds like it's coming from you. Now, I'm going to tell you to do this, and I'm just going to believe with my heart of hearts that you're going to do it. And I'm not going to ask you if you did the next time I see you. Maybe I will. When you get these scripts today, I want you to read them into a voice recorder and I want you to play it back. And here's why. When you read these scripts, the more it rolls off your tongue, the easier it is to say it again. So when you're actually talking to someone, and as you read it the first time, it's going to sound really weird, feel really weird, and be kind of awkward. But if you play that back and you listen to yourself, you will actually see that you sound totally normal. We did the video. I don't know if any of you saw it, but we did the video for the Flex MLS release last week. And I do videos all the time. So I have no problem with just saying something and moving on. Paul jokingly calls me something like one take Kristy. Well, I'm sitting there and Greg Buchanan has to do his 8 or 9 times because he can't get it to roll off his tongue because it's not, he's not used to doing videos. But then it was my turn, and I had read over what they wanted me to say a couple times. And then I came on and I read the teleprompter, and then I sat there for 5 seconds like they asked me to at the very end, and I turned and looked at them and I was like, okay, I'm done. And they had their mouths hit the floor and they were just staring at me, and they were like, one take Kristy, or one take Gooch, or something's what they called me. Because having the consistency, experience, and then proficient is huge. I've built up the ability to do those videos and not stutter, because I know the end result is different than what I'm feeling in that moment. So take these scripts. This was a lot to say, take these scripts, read them in a voice message form, play them back so you know you don't sound weird. Be likable, don't be arrogant. Always stay curious and never imply that you know what is best for the seller. As the consultant, you're only the option giver. You are not the decision maker. Setting the tone. Here's a script for win-win. This has to be a win-win. If it's not going to be a win-win, then if it's not going to be a win-win, then it's no deal. So you have to create a relationship that is win-win or no deal. You set that tone up front. If this isn't a win for you and a win for me, we don't even need to do this. Your agenda. Now, in order to create a win-win relationship, we must uncover your needs and goals for this transaction. Sellers' goals are all going to be different. Price, they got to get the most they can out of the property because they got to do something else. Pay off debt, move to a bigger home. It doesn't matter. They need more money. Therefore, I'm going to ask some very specific questions and take notes. Will that be okay? Here's the buy-in. They're giving you permission to take notes and write down their personal information on a piece of paper. When they agree, you say, great, thank you. Once we have defined your specific needs and goals in this transaction, we will discuss and agree on the most appropriate price. After that, we will thoroughly review the roles and expectations necessary for a successful working partnership. Is this agreeable? Again, you are getting their permission to move forward. Confidentiality. I want you to rest assured that anything you say here tonight, will remain between you and I, totally confidential. So please be as open and honest with me as you feel you can be. Is that fair? Again, you're getting more buy-in. Every time you set an agenda, win-win, agenda, confidentiality, and then the transitional phrase, you are always getting their buy-in. Every step along the way, you remain getting their buy-in. So great. With that said, let's talk about your vision for a successful transaction. The vision for a successful transaction may change with every single seller. So it's super important for you to know the expectations that are being placed on you. If the expectation being placed on you is that they need to sell and move within 30, 60, 90 days, then you need to know that's the most important. So what you're doing is you set goals. You're undercovering their needs. And this is the dialogue that you use for that. What is important to you? Let's say from a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being very desirable and 1 being not desirable, what's the one thing that has to happen to make this sale of your home a 10? I'm going to use an example that I had from a gentleman that called me about a month or 2 ago. He called me and he said, I need you to list my house. I said, okay, when do you want me to come out there? And he said, today or tomorrow, because I need to get this thing sold. And I was like, sure, I'm not going to get into this conversation with him on the phone. I'm going to do it when we're face to face. So that way I can feel his emotion and he can see my empathy for his situation. And when I got in front of him, I said, okay, tell me what our goals are here. What if I can make this the best scenario for you? What is the goal that we have? See, I just said the exact same thing that was right here, but I put my words on it. I didn't read it verbatim. I made it Kristy speak. And he said, I have to sell this house as quickly as possible because I'm the executor of my father's estate. However, I'm also his POA while he's alive. and he is about to pass away. He has his mind, but his body is breaking down. So he knows what's going on, but his body is having a hard time staying alive. And I said, okay, what time frame are we looking at? He, no joke, looked at me and said, we've got like 4 to 6 weeks. So 4 to 6 weeks changed the price of the listing drastically. If you're looking at me and telling me you want to close in 4 to 6 weeks, then your house just went from 215,000 to 199, simply because you needed to move it quickly. So his 10 was to get it closed so he didn't have to send the house to the estate and go through probate. But he also had a second and a third reason he needed to move. And I figured all those out in that needs uncovering dialogue. So usually you'll get 1 to 2 reasons or whys behind what they need to do and how you're going to move forward pricing your house. This real world example is about putting money on their next home. You can never base the sales price of your listing on what they need to get out of it. You can only base the sales price of your listing on the comps. And the comps may or may not match what they need to get out of it. And then they can decide at that moment whether it's worth their while to sell the property versus not selling the property. So price and timing are probably going to be the 2 biggest ones that you deal with in regards to a listing. A lot of people want the most they can. A lot of people want the highest return on their net value versus how long it's actually going to take. Right now in our market, we can offer them both of those at the same time, which is pretty cool. The importance of uncovering their needs is you must gain a thorough understanding of their needs. At some point during the process, the seller may look at you and say, gosh, is this really necessary? Digging this deep into everything that I need, is this really necessary? Because you have to think every other realtor is coming in there and they're just throwing down a CMA and they're saying, okay, your house is worth $220, you ready to put it on the market. They're not figuring out what the seller needs. They're not figuring out, other things that could change the seller's negotiating position later or the seller's desire to sell later. So if they ask you that, here's your dialogue. Necessary, I believe it's vital. As I explained earlier, I'm here in an attempt to create a win-win working relationship. Thus, it's very important for me to completely understand your win in this transaction. Without knowing your needs, I can't assure you that win. Besides, if I don't know your specific needs in this transaction, then we won't be able to identify the most appropriate price entry point. I promise this won't take long, and it will be completely pain-free. So come on. What will make the sale a 10 for you? Again, you're getting their buy-in again. If they get kind of squirrely and they're like, gosh, do we really have to talk about all this? I just want to know how much you're going to list it for. They will appreciate it at the end, and you will appreciate knowing the information at the end simply because you will be able to say, remember, Mr. Seller, when we sat down and you said to me you needed to move by November 6th and that all else fails, you have to be out of this house, sold and closed by November 6th. Remember when you said that to me? And he's going to be like, yeah, I remember that. And you'd be like, okay, so this offer is going to get you out by November 6th. So you're bringing them right back to their goals because you now know what their push points are, and you can help them walk through and realize their goal at the end. Let's see. If someone says to you, we want a quick sale, you say to them, okay, define what you mean by quick. This is huge. And this is something that I've learned over the course of thousands of years in this business, I feel like. But when someone says quick sale, when someone says, I love technology, when someone says, I want the biggest bang for my buck, their meaning of those words or phrases may be different than yours. So it's your job to get them to define. So right here, it says, we want a quick sale. And I say, what's your definition of quick? If you look at me and you tell me 2 months in our market today, I'm going to be like, that's not quick. That's normal. Quick in this market today is less than a month. So, and by sale, do you mean you want to be completely out of the home or just have an accepted offer? Because that's about a 45-day difference there. So if you say, I want to have my house under contract within the next 2 months, that means something totally different than I want to have my house sold, closed, I'm out, I have my check, we're moving on in 2 months. Those are two totally different things. So after you uncover the needs, you must prioritize them. Why? Because it's important to know which one is the first one. And don't be surprised if these change over time. So if he lists 3, if he says, I need to be moved by November 6th, then he says it needs to be, a cash deal in order for me to get moved. But my third most important thing is that I'm with my daughter before she has her baby in California. And if I'm out November 6th, then it means that I'm there. Prioritize those things. So what if we don't make it to November 6th, but we make it before she has the baby? Are you okay with that? No, I have to be out because then I have to pay all these other fees. Okay. So now we know that November 6th is more important than necessarily being there before she has the baby. If we get you out in November 6th, then maybe she's going to have the baby right after that, if that makes sense. Always make them, prioritize them, and always make sure you keep coming back to their number one reason that they want to sell. Transition to your pricing tools. Remember, it's all about justification. Typically, pricing or pricing issues is the number one priority. A transitional dialogue would be, so what you've told me is that being out of your home in 60 days is your number one goal. Let me assure you that that is also my goal, to get you out of your home in 60 days. You're saying to them what they've said to you, so now they know you're listening. And then when you say to them, it's also my goal to get you out of your home in 60 days, you're on a win-win relationship path. You can ask these transitional questions. Do you think pricing strategy is important? If they say yes, then you can say, share with me why you feel that way. If they say no, then you can say, when you, may I consult with you a little on pricing? Let me explain to you why I feel like pricing strategy is really important. This is a very strong justification statement. This is one that I suggest you learn, because it lets them know that you mean what you said earlier when you were a win-win. We must remember that the pricing game is all about justification. Therefore, we must put ourselves in a position to defend our listing price. The moment we are unable to defend our listing price, we lose leverage. You lose leverage with the appraisers, you lose leverage with the buyers and the buyer's agent. When we lose leverage, we start leaving your money on the table. Now, to me, leaving your money on the table is simply unacceptable. You're asking a question, you're getting buy-in, wouldn't you agree? There's no seller that's going to look at you and say, yes, please leave my money on the table. So the transition is, let me show you the research I've already done. So what you're now going to do is you're going to pull out your research. You're going to give them the information that you've already gotten sourced prior to coming to the listing appointment. If it's a for sale by owner, you're going to say these things. It's essentially the same thing, but it's questions about, how did you arrive at your last price? How many showings did you have? What was the feedback on those showings? And why did you feel that your home did not sell? Those are questions that you ask them, because then it gets into their mind with a for sale by owner or expired listing. If they blame it on the realtor, then you can say, let me ask you, do you think the pricing strategy is important? Because your home was exposed to thousands of other realtors via the MLS. Was the information correct? if you print off the MLS sheet and you take it, hand it to them, show them what the realtor saw. If there's incorrect information, circle it 3 or 4 times, just so they know that maybe their house didn't get a fair shake. Introducing your CMA summary pages, your pricing dialogue. This is really great. Do not overwhelm the client with a 40-page CMA. Give him what I call, what Rapatoni calls, a 3-up comparison. I'm going to have to find out what it is in Flex now since we're moving there. So a 3-up comparison is the active property plus 3 more comps showing comparable sales based on the property that you're listing. And I'm trying to think now, I think I just said the word, but I don't remember. Subject property. So it's got subject property, and then it has 3 comparable houses or townhouses or condos that compare closest to that. And then it gives you an idea of the differences between the 3. So it's a really good sheet. It's called 3-up comparison. You see, Mr. and Miss Seller, there are 3 basic sheets in real estate: the sold sheet, the dream sheet, and the expired sheet. The dream sheet is the active listings. Those cannot be used for appraisals. So those would be the least of the most important ones that you present. The sold sheet is number 1. The expired sheet tells you what you do not, what you probably will not get your house for, sold for, because someone else didn't take another property at that price. And the dream sheet is the actives, so it's your competition. And it said the competition and tells us what people are hoping to get. The other, let's see, you want to position yourself in a way that we're expecting to sell the home or hoping to sell the home. Of course, you want to position yourself in a way that you expect to sell the house. Some people are very unrealistic, and they have more of an emotional connection with the property than they have a real connection of what the value is. So we then say, based on the needs we uncovered tonight, what sheet do you believe we should primarily study to determine our price? The sold sheet, of course. So if they yell out the sold sheet, like all excited, then they just took ownership. So the most important research is always in the sold sheet. So looking at the sold information, can you understand how a reasonable buyer would price your home somewhere between, and give them a range? Do not give them a number yet. Give them a range. So if it's like 250 to 275, or if you want to make sure you land on 275, then you'll say, or if you want to make sure to land on 250, then you will give 250 in that range closer to the higher end, because most sellers want the most they can get out of it. And if they say no to that question, do you understand how a reasonable buyer would price your home somewhere between this value and this value? And they say no, then ask them why. So why do you feel that way? And he may go, well, Joe Smo down the street, 4 doors down to the left off 6 streets over, said that his house sold for $299.9, but you're telling me mine's only going to be $250. Then you pull it up. You actually show him, because chances are what he thinks the sales price of that house is versus what it actually is 2 totally different things. And if it's not a like kind property, meaning it's not a ranch on a basement, it might be a 2-story. So you have to make sure that he's comparing apples to apples, not apples to oranges. And then once you do that, ask him, so what do you think we should price your house at? He may come back and say, okay, fine, $250. I see that. So having agreed on a justifiable list price, you must verify that the price will satisfy their pricing and timing requirements. This will require calculating a net sheet. A net sheet is important because a net sheet starts out with their asking price, subtracts all the fees that they're going to pay, and then shows an estimated net of what will happen at closing when all those fees are deducted and the check that they are walking away with. If you've never seen or worked on a net sheet, Catherine, ask Kelly about it. Kimberly Dillon, If you want me to go through a net sheet, I'm more than happy to do that for you. And then now we eliminate seller's remorse. The biggest thing that a seller will do is get frustrated because he feels like, or she, or they feel like you have sold their house too quick and they should have priced it for more, because if they would have priced it for more, then maybe it would have sold, taken a little bit longer to sell, but they would have gotten more money. So you start out by eliminating their seller's remorse by saying, how will you feel if your house sells tomorrow? If they look at you and say, I feel like I priced it too low, then I need you to ask these questions. Why? If we priced it right, why? Listen to them, because they're probably going to say, well, because we had a bunch of people come and want to make an offer on the house. If I'd priced it right, maybe we would have just had 1 or 2 instead of 6 or 7 offers. Their logic isn't always correct. It's just perceived it sold too fast. Is it your goal to get your needs met within your designated time frame? Yes. And I would say maybe, is it your goal to get $50,000 out of your home and also close by November 30th? That's how I would say that. And then, would you agree that pricing your home at the appropriate price entry point increases the odds of getting 1 or more offers within your designated time frame, especially in this market, guys? If you price it right in this market, then you're probably going to get more offers than you would if you overpriced it. And most likely you will wind up with over asking price offers, which will net you the same as if you had overpriced it, if that makes sense, because I feel like I just spoke in circles right there. Would you feel your needs were any less satisfied if the offer came in on the first day as opposed to day 60? So you mean to tell me if I sold it for $299.9 tomorrow after we put it on the market, you would feel like that it would have been better, or your needs would have been met better if I had sold it for $299 30 days from now? Which one is better for you? Selling it at full asking price the day after we put it on the market, or 30 days later? So the message you're trying to get across is that all the research we just analyzed ensures us of the most appropriate price entry point. And again, this is a good script to get under your belt so you can have these conversations without stuttering around. And that's why practicing and reading them into a voicemail is really, really good. Let's see. We shouldn't care when the right person sees it as long as they see it within your designated time frame, right? Therefore, if someone who is ready, willing, and able to pay $299.9 for your home sees it the first day on the market, we should expect an offer. Wouldn't you agree? There's your buy-in. You've got buy-in twice. You see, we really can't control when the right person sees it. We can only control if they see it. It's my job to market the property and to make sure the person who's interested in a property like yours is able to view it and see it. So if the right person sees it on the first day, this in no way means we priced the home too low. It simply validates the fact we priced it just right. I hate this saying. Does that make sense? The reason I hate that saying is because it doesn't sound like you're confident in what you've said. So you're asking them if it makes sense. I say it all the time and I'm trying to break myself from saying it. So instead of saying, does that make sense? Ask them in a different way if they agree. I can't think of anything spectacular right now to say, but don't you agree with that statement? Or don't you agree with that thinking? Make it a statement of agreement, like we have mutual agreement. This is my favorite part because you're covering mutual expectations. Mutual expectations are important because if you set expectations up front, the chances of you disagreeing later are slim to none. So here's my role. And here's the marketing and promotion plan. And this is your agreement on the marketing plan. It's important to gain agreement each step of the way. I feel like I've said that 1,000 times, but it is. After reviewing my marketing plan, do you feel your home will be exposed and promoted? Well, yeah. I mean, look at everything you're doing down here. You're, doing all these 7, 8, 9, 10 things. Is there anything in this plan that concerns you or that you would like to change? This gives them a voice. This gives them a opportunity to say, well, I'm not real excited about open houses. Okay, you don't want to do open houses? How else would you like me to get buyers in your home that makes them feel like there's an open period of time where they can come and look? Realtor open houses? Awesome. I'll do those instead. Once you have gained agreement on your role as a consultant, change the focus to their role as a cooperating seller. You're telling them what they can put you on the hook for, and you're getting their agreement. The reason you're doing it first is because it's okay, or it's more comfortable to say, this is what I'm going to do. This is what you can count on for me. This is what you can expect from me. They're probably not thinking that you're now going to say, and now this is what I expect from you. But because you have already presented the expectations of yourself, giving expectations for the seller is a little bit easier. So what Kristy Gooch expects from you: 1, keep the home available. 2, follow up on the agreed upon staging plan. Complete all repairs. Keep your yard mowed. Yada, yada, yada. 14, be brutally honest with me if you feel I'm not meeting your expectations. Those are really important because as they read these over and you actually have them sign them, you'll sign yours, they'll sign theirs, then you guys are in a mutual agreement of what you expect from each other. And you can use these later. These are always things that you can bring them back to the listing conversation and say, remember when we talked about this? An ounce of prevention will fix so many issues that you don't even know could potentially come up in your transaction. So make sure everyone's on the same page. Once you have finished reviewing the expectations of each role, you must gain agreement. Do you think that we have clearly defined our roles and expectations? Yes. Do you think they are fair? Yes. Is there anything else that should be included on the list, yours or mine? Again, this is getting their buy-in. If they don't want to keep their yard mowed, then that's a conversation you need to have right now. If they don't want to leave home for all showings, that's a conversation you need to have right now. If they are wanting to lie on the seller disclosure, that's a conversation you need to have right now. So then you'll confirm value. Do you see value in what I do? Or do you see more value in me than your previous realtor? They're going to say yes, because you've given them the opportunity to have a voice in the process. Let's see, closing. You close the appointment. Again, this is just the conversation part. This is not going into the actual CMA process, the pricing process. We'll have those in another class. If the seller has been allowed to self-discover what a working relationship with you would be like, and you've established yourself as a valid professional, closing is easy. It's a snap. After our conversation tonight, I feel we have the makings of a win-win relationship. Do you agree? Do you feel I can handle the job of selling your home? Yes. Great, then let's move ahead. But we want to go ahead and list and visit with other realtors. I can appreciate that. Is there anything they could say or do that would result in you giving them the listing? Boy, this puts them on the spot. And a lot of times they'll look at each other and kind of go, well, no, probably not. We just think we should see them once we've made them appointments. This makes me happy. I've done it before. It's a great feeling. And another realtor will understand. They do not get, like angry or anything. If you would like, I'd be more than happy to call the other agents and let them know you've chosen me to be your selling consultant. That way, we don't waste any more time getting your home on the market. What do you say? Would you like me to make those calls for you? The scariest part for someone is letting someone else down. So the fact that I can call and you don't have to make those calls takes that weight or responsibility off the seller. 9 times out of 10, they'll go, oh, would you do that for me? That's so nice of you, because they don't want to make the call to cancel. So they would rather put you off because it's easier than cancel those appointments. And then you can do a momentum close and then go ahead and get them to sign the contract. Since we're together, let's complete this listing agreement. And I'll leave it here with you. If you decide you're ready to put the home on the market when you wake up tomorrow, call me and I'll come immediately and pick this up. That way we don't waste any more time than necessary in getting your home exposed. How does that sound? Again, you're getting buy-in, constantly getting that buy-in. Closing should be pretty easy. A lot of times when a realtor and a seller meet, they connect, they feel good about it. You're on your game, they're on their game, and they're excited about the process. If you set your value up front and you let them know how amazing you're going to be, then in the end, you will always have the opportunity to exceed their expectations when you set those expectations. So here is a bunch of supplemental tools. We're not going to go over these together. These are just things that you can have. Your listing packet, your listing conversation tools. Here you've got letters. I really appreciate you entrusting me with the duty of selling your home. It's like, what's next? Everybody always wants to know what's next. So thank you notes if they will be interviewing with other agents. Thank you note if the seller chose another agent. Okay, I guess that's it. I thought there was more, but I guess that's it. So those are all things that can help you sell your value to a seller and hopefully change your listing presentation into a listing conversation. Do you have any questions? I'm going to make these 2 hours or an hour and a half long. I feel like I ran through them like a battering ram. And but do you guys have any questions? Did you learn anything?
Yes.
Good. That's what I like to hear.
No, it's good. How to talk to the sellers too and setting expectations beforehand. I think that helps a lot.
Yep, I agree completely. How about you, Kimberly?
Are you talking to me, Kimberly Dillon?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I had myself muted. I was talking and I couldn't hear, or you couldn't hear me. The one thing that, I've once again gained valuable information. But the one thing I have a question about is, so if we're at a listing presentation and we're talking about comps, and then, okay, I guess what I'm trying to say is, so I had just sold a house back in May and it had got appraised for that then at 160. Well, then they wanted to resell and she wanted to sell it for over 200,000, but had done minimal work. And it got appraised once again. It seems to me like appraisers go more by listing price than they do anything else. So do you understand? I guess I'm saying, well, I forgot where I was going, but basically, so the appraisal price. Okay. So I guess I'm trying to determine, I mean, isn't or the value sometimes based on your listing price?
The value in an appraisal is a lot of times based on the listing price. However, if the comps don't support your listing price, then it doesn't matter what you list it for. It's not going to appraise, especially in a market where there's so much going on. I have seen more listings that don't appraise this year than I have seen in a very long time. So I would say the benefit of knowing your comparable sales, especially when it's time for the appraisal, is very valuable, simply because the time and effort of doing all the work is not worth it if you're grossly overpriced. So I would say, even though the seller says, I want to make $100,000 in a year, it's possible. but it has to be realistic. And if they are being unrealistic, then is it worth you even taking that listing?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I know, and it's happened before that they want to know what you've listed it at, because then they try to meet that price. And, in that one case, it just priced for 160. She got it under contract for 205. And it just, to me, it's blown my mind, because I think that the only reason it appraised that much different within 6 months is due to they look at the listing price for some reason.
I've kind of had
Which
that
I know
situation.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Well, I know that we base our comps on what other places are selling for. So it just, I guess I'm kind of confused how that happened this time, So.
Well, the market tells you what a house will sell for. If a buyer and seller agree on a price, generally the appraiser says, okay, there's a buyer that's willing to pay this, so I'll go ahead and appraise it for this. However, there are times that the seller is over expecting, and the market does not bear that. Remember, the appraiser actually works for the bank. The appraiser does not work for the seller and does not work for the buyer. They work for the bank. They want to make sure the bank is lending and has the equity in the property to get that money back if it forecloses. So yes, it does happen often, Kimberly. You're right. It will appraise for asking price. But there have been so many times that it hasn't appraised that I think that once, I don't know if you've ever been in that situation, once you get in the situation of it not appraising, you will see the side of, oh shoot.
Okay. Yeah.
So how did I answer that right for you?
Yes, you did.
Okay. Are either one of you in the Richmond office? I can't tell. I don't think so.
No, I'm currently at home, actually.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just leaving.
Me too.
My home office.
Home office. Okay. Do you have any more questions on the class today? Any insight or things that were ahas for you?
I feel like I've shortchanged a lot of my sellers because, if I wish I would have had this strategy a long time ago, because it's so much. Then you're letting them know your value by asking certain questions and, taking your shoes off. And, I've learned a lot today about respect and showing my value in the initial appointment.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. So next week, the next momentum class, we'll do either pricing or objections. Probably pricing. And then we'll do objections, because right now listings are huge. It's what we all want, right? Objection handling and pricing.
For Catherine and Kimberly, I've actually got a listing presentation that I can change it up a little bit for you, so that whenever you go to a listing presentation, you have something there you can kind of present to potential.
Awesome.
That would be great.
That would be nice. I Googled a couple of them whenever I went to my listing presentation, and I didn't really like them, so I made my own. But it'd be really nice to have something like else to reference to.
Yeah, I think this is a Remax branded one too, right, Paul?
A bunch of the Remax ads.
Huh?
Yeah, it's got a bunch of the Remax, like the technologies, and then I can cater it a little bit and put your information in there.
There you go. That's cool.
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Paul. All righty. Well, I'm off to Richmond. If you guys need anything, please yell, and I will see you around soon.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.
All righty.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.